Good evening, everyone. My name is Florian Zbinden. I'm a project manager working at Thermo Fisher Scientific. And I'm going to tell you about my journey with from an Excel chaos, let's say, to a much more organized project organization and very transparent thanks to Smartsheet. And my use case is going to be mostly about one solution which helps us to manage a program across 30 sites within the company. As an agenda, I've got a small introduction, and then we will, as a starting point, explain what was the situation about 3 years ago. And then I will go into the details of my first solution, which is a manual one. And then we will move on to the second solution used by my PMO, which is being managed by a control center from a Smartsheet. And then we have a short conclusion and a bit of time for Q&A. So first, Thermo Fisher Scientific, we are a global subcontractor for the pharma industry, present in US, Canada, Europe, and Asia. And my role specifically as a senior project manager is to deploy and execute projects and programs within the quality units of our division. We have, depending on how you consider our division, we have from 30 to 60 sites possibly. And these are very complex projects, both technically speaking, but also from an organization standpoint and change management standpoint, because it's a lot about changing processes, habits of work, and so on. And the pharma industry is not the most flexible industry. It's a heavy regulated industry. So change management is really key for us. And this was Smartsheet was a big driver in improving the change management piece of my work. And I will explain that much more in detail later. So, like many other companies, we have tiered structure meetings, and we have some daily stand-up, some weekly or monthly steering committee, and we use many PowerPoint files and dozens of Excel files and so on. We use SharePoint, obviously. It's always a bit of a mess at some point when the project is big, and this is where Smartsheet came into play. It helps us to improve the information structure, improve communication, and to rationalize the tiered meetings. We have, at the end of the day, we had always the same structure, same dashboards for everyone, and we got rid of all of our PowerPoint files and Excel files, which were constantly lost, and we didn't know where was the last version and so on. So what was the need for us to move into Smartsheet and to create a solution that would help us in our work as project managers? So we were implementing a new global LIMS, which is a lab information management system. It's a big software that labs use across the company to manage samples and so on. And it's very complicated to use. It takes a lot of time. And we were deploying it across about 30 sites in business units, 2 divisions, and we deployed it on a module basis. It takes a lot of time, a lot of resources, a lot of coordination and communication with escalation up to the management, the VPs and so on. And as I explained, because of that, change management is a part of my work. It's not just about delivering the system itself, it's about using it and making the best use of it. Address communication gaps, and to improve access to this information. We also standardize the dashboards, and we also align the tier reporting structure to the dashboard. It was very important and really helpful. We could get rid of all of the dozens of Excel files and PowerPoint files and so on we had, thanks to Smartsheet. And it is important to realize that right now, when I'm managing this project, I am only using Smartsheet, and I am using the dashboards that you will see in a moment, and I am updating them live during the calls. and I don't have to rework them for hours afterwards, maybe just to finalize the wording and so on. But at least they are always up to date. So that's really important. It's a big change of habits that we had. Smartsheet was already used within our company with an active community of practice for support and so on. So we didn't have to select this service, software as a service, compared to to compare it to others. So it was already available. Just got to get access to it, and that's it. Don't hesitate to interrupt me if you have any questions via the Q&A. By the way, my journey. It took some time at the start because I was really starting from scratch, and I took about more or less a year to have our first good solution, let's say, a little less than a year. And I have at the bottom of this slide the resources that we used. And overall, it went like this. So I started to play around and to learn the basics. I took the self-paced courses on Smartsheet University. There are two which are interesting, at least to start with, the core app and then the project management one. A few months afterwards, I created the first version of a dashboard. We tested it, we piloted it, and so on. I was using different resources, as I said, the Smartsheet community, the Smartsheet University, internal SMEs would help me as well. I took the courses as well, and I was also leveraging the templates from the Solution Center within Smartsheet, and different user group meetings as well, just to have some food for thought. And then came into play the AI assistant for building formulas and so on. It started to be useful as well at some point.
Florian, when you're looking back, right? I mean, you had Smartsheet already in the company, so this was like, of course, easy way to start because you didn't at least need to introduce a new tool. Yeah, but I guess during this time anyway, you had different platforms in the company. Probably you had MS Project or even Jira or Asana, I don't know. But like, what did make you choose Smartsheet at this time as the way what you decided to go for your project? What was like the trigger point for you?
I think we needed something very visual. So when we looked at some example of dashboard, it was really clear, but it would be a big help. Mm-hmm. It was mainly about that and having all of the information that we had in 30 SharePoints spread over MS Project files, Excel, and presentation slides, and we could have it all together in one place and to have it really working super well integrated together. And not just here and there and making some copy paste and so on. So it was a need we had. We expressed it to the internal SMEs, and they said, yes, you could build something like that. It will take time, but yes, it's possible, technically speaking.
Mm-hmm. So you had it.
So considering like the tools that were already in case, a question came in about what other integrations were added with your Smartsheet, like we're using Teams or Slack or some other collaborative platforms before?
Yeah, we were, and we are still using Teams and also SharePoint. And I will talk about it at the end. We have tried to integrate that together because otherwise you just create a new silo, but using a new system, it's great, but then you still have some siloed information. So yeah, we are trying to combine Teams with Smartsheet, with SharePoint, and to have some automation in the background, like with Power Automate, for instance. And because it is really important to have some kind of information that flows from one system to another. It's not so easy, but yeah, we have made some tests and we are using in some other cases, not this one, but Data Shutter, for instance. And that's always something to keep in mind, in my opinion, to try to have information flowing.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, so we went live with the first version of this, the final version of this dashboard I'm going to share in a sec, at the end of, in December 23. And then I continued to improve it a little bit afterwards, but it was mainly done. And now I'm going to, yes, the starting point. So as I have already mentioned, we had many Excel files in different SharePoints. We had PowerPoint slides, we had MS Project files. It was really, really heavy in terms of maintenance. We had some conflicts with versions because many people were working on the same files, and of course they forget to close it when they clock out at 5 or 6 p.m. So then you have a big mess in terms of who has changed what and so on. We felt we need to protect the sheets from modifications, but you can do that in Excel, but it's not the greatest way of doing it. Or you can also manage it with SharePoint, but again, then you restrict some information somehow. That was also one of the reasons why we chose Smartsheet, and that's just an example of a basic issue log. Nothing fancy, but that was one of the things we wanted to somehow protect a bit. Otherwise, we could lose some traceability, and thanks to Smartsheet, we could achieve that. And also, yeah, we had those slides here. That's a PowerPoint slide. We had a timeline at the top.
Mhm.
Used an add-on. We had some milestones, as you can see here in the middle. And then at the bottom, we have some high-level summary of how the project is performing. But again, it wasn't ideal. We had to also some conflicts with versions and so on. So we needed to have, for instance, those two files plus MS Project files, because we had 30 MS Project files, sorry. And we needed a solution to combine all of that and to have it work seamlessly.
Did you, Florian, in this, just to come here to this point, like I experienced in the past when I work not in my own company before, and in other roles. So I experienced also like in this Excel chaos driven companies sometimes that we prepared like for the monthly board meeting, we prepared like 1 week all the presentations. And we get information from all the teams from global base. And then we were sitting in the meeting and actually really the information was wrong. It was just outdated. So
Yes.
did you also experience this time?
Yeah, definitely. All the time. Yeah, it was really frustrating because as soon as you think you have finally updated your slides, they are already outdated. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
and it takes so much time. It's really frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Yeah. So that's what a lot of people drive to Smartsheet, right? To have the single point of truth, which is really like across all the data, just on your fingertip in real time, the latest information. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the way I built this solution is you get just one hyperlink. It's a fixed hyperlink, and you can just access it. And then you navigate through the pages for the dashboards, which are published. So you go from tier 4 to tier 3 to tier 1 to tier 2 and so on, or vice versa. And you get some different level of information and just one hyperlink on your browser. So it's really great, and it's always up to date. It forces you as a project manager to keep your dashboards up to date. It's a big change in my daily work, but at least I know that the information is true, is accurate.
Yeah. Great.
So the solution that I designed in Smartsheet was based on the PMO template set available in the Solution Center. I modified it heavily, but I think I still kept the philosophy and the organization in the background. So I just got rid of the intake part at the start because I knew, in my case, how many sites we would have.
Mhm.
And then the rest, I kept the same architecture. I just increased the amount of sheets needed, the amount of reports and dashboards and so on. But then the flow of information is still the same, more or less. And that's always an escalation from a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 to tier 4. And that's really the same idea as this PMO template set. So we have 30 times 30 project plans, let's say. We have 30 tier 1 and tier 2 dashboards, for instance. And then since we have 7 business units, we have 7 portfolio let's say, dashboards, and then we have two divisions. So we have two portfolio at a higher level for the division, but it's really exactly the same idea. So that means you don't have to build everything from scratch by yourself. You can leverage something and change it and improve it as per your need. It's really nice.
I have a question for this, Florian, also, because I had yesterday discussion with another exchange with another Smartsheet power user. I guess you know her, with Joey from the US. And we discussed about this point, like what is the easiest way to start with Smartsheet, and we both had the experience that, of course, in the first time, if you use like the templates, it's good to understand the structure, but my experience and also her was like, actually, after a while, you need to understand very deep how the connections are done. And then you start to re-engineer actually the solution. So it's often easier really to start from scratch if you have a basic knowledge. What is your take on this part? Can you confirm, or or did it work out for you?
For me, it worked out to use this template set and to adjust it to my need, because it really fits my need. Basically, this portfolio and project relationship really fit my need. I just had to increase it, and I was just adding filters, but I didn't change fundamentally the functioning of this template set. So in this case, it was fine for me to use it. Then in my second solution that I'm going to speak about later, then I started from scratch.
Okay. Everyone has different experience, so that's one to ask.
Yeah. So my dashboards, they look like this. So you have to look at the window split into two. It's a tier 1 and tier 2 dashboard, but just to give you a flavor of what it looks like, I have some hyperlinks here. I have also some charts with how many tasks are in green and so on. I have some traffic lights regarding the high-level status of the projects. I have some text information. I've got some hyperlink again, some metrics widgets with just the team members lists. And then if you look at the bottom left, we've got some a calendar app. So it's to maintain the timeline. So that's an advanced app from Smartsheet. It's a bit old style, but it's still good in some cases. Now there is the timeline, but it wasn't available back then. And then it's a lot of tables with text, reports. It's really basic in some cases. And then if we shift to the right-hand side, we have again some basic tables, nothing fancy, widgets with milestone metrics. So it's just a donut chart. Then we have some issue log, similar to the Excel, just in the background. What you don't see is that you can select to which tier meeting level you want to escalate the issue, for instance. And then to finish, we have the Gantt chart, so it's replacing MS project files. And what you don't see, obviously, is that there is a lot of automation in the background of those sheets. For instance, project plans, they contain some automation to remind people to complete tasks on time, for instance. Same for the milestones. There is a mechanism, an automation that look at when the milestone is completed and what was the due date and so on. And basically, it's just not a fancy dashboard. It's a lot of automation in the background that helps my daily work as a PM, as a project manager, and it makes really my life easier.
Florian, I have a question also on this, and I just looked to everyone who is in the audience. Also, I see Constantino is here, and he was one of our customers, and we made a presentation in Seattle together. And one thing what we experienced together in the journey of FEW, and I know that also you as ProSky practitioner, right? So for you, change management is very important to get the people on board with the new tool, with all the automations and stuff. Like, how did you get the people, the team on board? What do you think was the secret sauce what you used to get everyone involved? Yeah.
So do you mean in adopting Smartsheet?
Yeah, also the people to use Smartsheet to get that they're not overflowed. As of one example, like what we discovered when we implemented on other customers, we start in the beginning just with a few automations because we didn't want to spam the people with too many emails. Yeah, so stuff like this. And do you have some takeaways on this part for the audience? Maybe like how you could them in. Yeah.
So I had the case similar discussion with regards to the automation. So I restricted the automation. For instance, I don't send a reminder to someone who has an action to be completed in 6 months.
Yeah.
I just did it in the last weeks or last month. So I trigger it only when it is almost due, for instance.
Yeah.
And in terms of adopting Smartsheet as a tool, what we did is that we only changed the tool itself. We didn't change the information, and we didn't change who is updating what information.
Mm-hmm.
So that was also a bit easier for them to adopt, and it was much easier. It was super user friendly because they just have to click on the report to adjust, for instance, the completion rate of the action, for instance, and we didn't change that. So it was really similar. The way of working was really similar, except it's via hyperlink instead of looking into a SharePoint, which is messy. So it really made we really made the life easier to the end users. And then we started to develop a little more and to make things a bit more fancy because we saw that the adoption was quite high and quite good.
Would you say that there was like a bit of resistance or friction of trying to, get Smartsheet, like get people involved with Smartsheet, or that there's a bit of a learning curve as you developed more, or there was not really an issue in rolling it out?
We had that, obviously. I mean, as soon as you change something, you have some resistance against change. It's human, but it was well designed, so it was really easy. It was almost as easy to use as an Amazon website, for instance. It was really just click and then update, and that's it. So I really tried to think about the end users, and I piloted it with 2 end users, 2 sites, so they could provide me some feedback. Like I could adjust the functioning of the system based on that. So it was, yes, in some cases we had some resistance, but in most of cases we made the life easier to the end users, so they got they were really quick in adopting it.
I think that's a good approach to have always the end user, the end customer at the end, right, in focus and starting slowly. That's a good takeaway. Okay, so great.
Yeah, especially when like you sometimes hear that companies are a bit reluctant to like go deeper into Smartsheet because like there's a steep learning curve and then it's difficult for people to adopt. But I guess if you make it as easy as possible, if you put the extra time in there, do the investment upfront, then there's it makes it much easier. That's a good approach. One very quick question. I'm not sure, you don't need to answer it if it's coming up later, but Gabriel is asking whether you can provide more examples of like the automations that you implemented that makes your life easier as a project manager.
Okay. Yeah, let me think a sec. So I've got the classical reminder for someone to complete a task. For instance, when a new risk or issue is logged in, the project manager, the local one, got an information about this because anybody can log in any new issue or risk because we have some forms to that. And then the owner also gets an information. Same with regards to the due date. We have some reminder about a month before the due date is coming. Then I've got some workflow that fill in some metadata column in my sheets, for instance, because I've got 30 sites, so I want as a metadata which site has raised which risks, and this is also automated because workflow is filling this in. As I was saying, so this first solution was based only on the core app. I was not using, except the calendar app and the data mesh, I was not using any advanced app. So I was reading all of it, and I knew this because I took the course, and I think it's important to take the course at Smartsheet University or any other website, because then you get to know what you can do with this system. And it's important for you to know that so you can build a smart solution. So I was, most of my sheets are like tidy tables, like databases, so you can scale them up without thinking too much about it. It makes your life easier. Don't make like in Excel some highlight at the top and so on. We just spoke about automation, update requests. As I was saying, some formulas similar to Excel: VLOOKUP, index, match, collect, count if, sum ifs, if error. Very, very useful. Some nested ifs. And I also started to create nested ifs with generative AI because it's really fast and you don't forget commas or parentheses.
Very helpful now. The new AI feature for if formulas and for nested formulas is super powerful. But
it's really nice. I tested it as well. It's really powerful, really fast. Link from cell in other sheets. It's also a useful feature. I think it's not very often so used, but I really like it, and especially in my cases, it was really helpful. I also used forms, and including some forms where you can pre-fill dynamically data. Rights and permissions are also very important for me, and it was really helpful, much more convenient than in Excel and SharePoint. What else do we have? I think that's it. I think we have seen most of it. Hyperlinks, metadata, we spoke about it. The risk log is based on one single sheet, and then you can, with just a drop-down menu, you can escalate it to tier 1 to 3 and so on. You can choose that, and then it's reflected on your different dashboards. It's really practical. Also I got rid of the MS project files by using the Gantt charts in Smartsheet and collections to share quickly several sheets or dashboards at once. So that was my first solution and the features I used. And in terms of benefits of using that, we have already spoken about it, but everything is available at one hyperlink. And the information is consistent because we have always the same dashboards for every site, for every business unit. So it's really easy to switch from one to another. It's super visible, super easy to understand. With the end user in mind, it's really practical to use, and the adoption was great thanks to that. Also, one of the workflow I have is that when the level of escalation of risk on an issue is changed, then the owner is also informed about it. And that's one of the things I use, and I don't have to do it myself. Of course, sometimes it's a bit blunt to receive just an email like this, but if you do it properly, and then you can have some good results. And I noticed that the management was also quicker to respond and to help with that. You don't have to book a meeting because they are simply overbooked, so they just receive that notification and they are curious about it, and they see that they have to act upon a risk. So at least I think it's more efficient. In some cases, not always, obviously, but it helps us a lot. In terms of workflow for me, it's much easier because the information is always up to date, but it forces me to keep my dashboards up to date, obviously, but I'm using them on a daily basis. Every day I'm logged into it and I'm updating my dashboards. So then I can just share. I mean, everybody knows where the hyperlink is and they just bookmarked it and that's it. So they always I don't get questions about what's the status of this site, for instance. They just got it by themselves and they can just read it. The only disadvantage, but it's similar to Excel, is that everything is done manually. In terms of maintenance of the dashboard and so on, it's done manually in this case, and it took me a lot of time. And that's my transition to my second solution. So you have to understand that after this first solution for this precise project of the LIMS, my PMO because the results were so great, they chose to move entirely into Smartsheet for all of our projects, not just for one, but for all of them, even
So
for finance. Sorry.
You finish the sentence first, then.
Yeah. So the entire governance, everything should be done in Smartsheet, and we have all of the PMs from my PMO. We are supposed to use the same platform, same Gantt chart, same dashboard, and so on. So it was a decision made after 2 years of using this first manual solution. But then for me, it meant I have to move into Control Center because otherwise I'm going to spend my entire day maintaining dashboards and so on. So it was really a present request, and that's what we did about a year ago. And I will speak about that now. You wanted to say, Nico?
No, I'll make later. I will not disturb you now. Yeah.
Okay. So as I've explained, maintaining 30 dashboards is quite time consuming, but if you want to have your entire PMO moving to Smartsheet, then it's climbing up to 50 or 100 projects per year. So it's impossible to do that manually, obviously. And you need to move into consent to help you minimize the effort of maintenance, and also to have consistency with automation, same workflows for everyone, and so on. And so the journey to move into Control Center now for a second solution, let's say, for my PMO. So we took October 24, so about a year and a half ago, I created a first blueprint. We piloted it again with the end user or the client in mind. In December, it was finally adjusted. We piloted it with a few more sites, and then we moved entirely into this in spring and summer 25. So it has been now almost a year that we have been using Control Center to manage all of our projects. We have about 30 or something like that projects, I think, and it's going really well. Again, some screenshots. So we have 2 dashboards for each project managed in Control Center. That's the high-level dashboard. So we call that 4 blockers. It's just a set of completed activities, upcoming activities, and the yellow and red tasks. Same for the milestones, and we have key risks and key decisions made. And we have just a traffic light on the top right-hand side, and we just have the main sponsor, business lead, and so on. Nothing fancy, but it's good enough for the management. And then again, we have a project dashboard, similar to my first solution, really similar. It's almost the same, a bit simplified, because this LIMS program was so big, we needed so much information, and it was so complex that we could simply simplify it for any other initiative within our PMO. I made a few changes. I improved it based on the first experience. For instance, the roadmap, the timeline is not a calendar app anymore. It's simply pulling from the same Gantt chart that every project manager is using, and just putting the level 1 and 2, I don't recall exactly, in terms of tasks. So it's the same. And the main change I made for this second, let's say, solution is that project manager, they just have to maintain 1 Gantt chart, and then it's the dashboards are putting milestones, activities, everything based is in this one single sheet. So it's really easy to maintain, except the risks and issues, but all of the rest is maintained via this one single sheet. This is really similar to what we had before. And again, for instance, the milestones are really directly put from the Gantt chart. I have some helper columns, for instance, where you cost check what you want to escalate and where. So it's really easy for the project managers to maintain all of the information. What Control Center brings you in terms of benefits, it's really nice. The huge point is to simplify and to lower the maintenance burden for the one maintaining that, because I'm a project manager, but I am also maintaining those solutions. So I cannot just maintain those solutions. I have projects to manage, and I'm using my solution. So it's great also to see that. And so in terms of maintenance, you get to change your dashboards and sheets within a matter of minutes instead of hours. You don't have to replicate 30 times the stupid change in a sheet. So it's just one with a few clicks and that's it. You still need to get trained and so on to get familiar with Smartsheet. It's not an easy piece of work, but it's doable. And what we did is that everyone across the PMO is using the same template set and so on. We have a solution that fits every need, every project. And so as I was saying, the manual updates, they take just a few minutes. And also the provisioning of new projects, it takes just a few minutes or instead of 1 or 2 hours as before. So these are the main benefits, but there are also some trade-offs to be made. Of course, you need to get trained to be able to use this control center, to test it, to set it up. It takes time, but then it's really worth it because you save so much time in terms of maintenance and so on. Then you need to carefully think about do you want and do you need to migrate existing projects which are created before control center into control center. That's a big question because it can take a lot of time. It's not easy to do. You can get some help, obviously, from consulting companies and so on, but it's a really important thing to consider. Control center doesn't. At the end of the day, it's not so complicated because you just need a few metadata. You need an intake sheet, where you have on each row you have each project, and then you can maintain the entire solution based on that. And you don't have to have dozens or thousands or hundreds of metadata. You need a few, but not much. So it doesn't have to be super complicated to start with control center. I guess that's the message. It's still a big step to take in terms of training, understanding the philosophy and setup and so on. But you don't have to be the mega complex solution. I'm almost done. I have just to show you what I mean by non-complex metadata. So these are the metadata you need to have set up at the top of the Gantt chart. And this is, for instance, project name is a metadata. And this is what you are managing from the intake sheet. The rest is optional, but I chose to have those as metadata, but you don't have to. But it doesn't have to be super complicated. And this allows you simply to benefit from the control center capabilities. And also, what I wanted to say is that you are like having one solution to fit all needs, so it can be a bit complicated to explain to people, I cannot just adjust your dashboard just for you. But what you can do is that you can, the idea we had is that we would build a solution that would fit everybody's needs. And then we would build on top of that for some specific initiatives, some additional dashboards and so on. So for instance, we have out of the about 30 projects we are managing in Control Center right now, we have 7 of them we pull from the Gantt chart and we put that all in a report. We call that a scorecard, and then we make some fancy dashboards or even a calendar, for instance, with only those 7s because there was a specific need for a bigger initiative. And so you can build some flexibility even if you have a solution which is common to all projects. So you have to build that in a smart way, but it's possible. The conclusion just before the questions. So I think, in my opinion, deploying Control Center for a PMO or for where you have always the same blueprint, it's really worth. The price to pay is obviously the training and setup. And think carefully about migrating existing projects. It is really nice, but it is quite time consuming, so be careful about that. And keep it simple at first. It doesn't have to function, it doesn't have to be super complex. Don't try to get something perfect. I mean, in pharma, we are all about quality, so people always want the best possible solution, but sometimes perfect is the enemy of the good. And be flexible, make a proof of concept, fail fast, correct and adjust, and then move on. And then we touched about that. Also think about avoiding to have some information which is siloed into Smartsheet. Keep in mind that Bridge is existing, Data Shuttle is existing, and then you can also integrate and play with generative AI, which is directly embedded into Smartsheet to help you. And now they are making a big push on that also. And also try to integrate your dashboards, Smartsheet dashboards on SharePoint sites if needed. And expand automation. For instance, I built a solution where I'm triggering the creation of a Teams channel based on a Smartsheet raw, and I'm using Power Automate to generate automatically the Teams channel, for instance. So these are things you should consider as a whole, and not just so to avoid you to have some siloed information, I would say. And I think that's it.
Great. Thanks, Florian. So we have still 2 slides to show you, but let us start first with some Q&A. Is there some questions? And also
there were 2 questions that did not answer throughout. So first, Florian, are you finding that as users gain experience using Smartsheet, there are more requests for refinements and improvements in the templates and just projects themselves?
Yeah, we had that. So we started to use this solution in July last year. So we let a few months to collect the requirements coming in. And then we used an agile PM approach. So we selected a few and we went live with them for a while. And then we had 2 waves, 2 time boxes of changes. And now it has really settled down and people are happy with it. So yeah, we had some adjustment phase. And you could feel that people are getting familiar with the system. They want some better automation. We had to create some new automation which was a bit smarter with many conditions. So, but it was good because it also that they liked it and they used it actively.
Great. And then when you were talking about having like the issues submitted or like these problems that people can submit, do you actually store those as data and use it as a basis to see which areas can you improve in for future projects? Or is there like a different sheet that it's stored and analyzed?
No, we store that, and then we have reports putting all together, and we make some classification and sorting and so on. And so then we could discuss that later on and with some directors and managers and so on. So yeah, we would put that all together, and then we would select some and act on it.
And would you say that this has been like proved to be quite useful like over the past year and a half, so that there's a standardized and very clear way of submitting issues and then having to like having the ability to analyze them in a clear fashion, sorting them within them?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it has really streamlined the process of addressing those issues and so on. It was really one of the benefits I didn't expect, to be honest. But yeah, it was really, I was almost shocked to see how issues and risks are resolved and addressed. So it was really, really powerful.
Great, thanks.
Did you start to measure the time, Florian? How fast, also if you are improving decision time or risk resolving time?
No, we haven't done that. No, too complicated. Sometimes, yeah, we have big problems or super tiny ones, so we didn't measure that.
Yeah.
In the meanwhile, a question just came in about regarding control center and permissions. So basically, the question is that if you use control center, can you ring fence users' permissions? And an example here given is that project manager number one can only see project one? Because you can do this within Smartsheet, but like, does it apply with Control Center as well?
Yes, I did exactly that because every project has its own workspace. You could do differently, but in this case, I use this way of doing so I can really restrict the information to one manager has access to one workstream and that's it.
That's good.
Good.
Any more questions in the chat or in the Q&A? If you have anything in mind, keep on coming.
Okay, then let me just also maybe move for the further information also. So we are hosting not just this session, and it's not the first time. I think a lot of you know and visited other sessions before. So we are planning more sessions like this. We already have some other speaker lined up and in discussion. And also what we are planning is to have some more like short technical sessions where we introduce a new tool or a new feature in Smartsheet, because all of you know that Smartsheet rolls out this year more than 20 new applications and new functionalities. And also, if you want to keep up, so we plan, for example, in one of these mini sessions to talk about how you can transfer Smartsheet data into PowerPoint automatically. Also, Claude is now a hype, and we have an MCP connection to Smartsheet, so we can utilize the information here in Smartsheet, work with AI directly in Smartsheet. So we're starting to get some experience here, and also will host more sessions. And in general, so the idea is we create webinars. We have a free online course also, and also we do like trainings for teams if you want to onboard Smartsheet, get solutions developed. So a lot of different things where we are also supporting. Yeah, and so yeah, last but not least. So if there's no further question, or is there something new coming in the moment?
Not really, just no questions.
Then
Wait, actually, oh no, actually, there's one more question that just came in.
Okay.
Denise is asking, how did you get to buy-in? How did you get the buy-in from upper management to use Smartsheet for the project? Was this an organization standard prior to your project, or did you have to bring them into the Smartsheet for yourself? So basically, just like selling upper management on Smartsheet to use this and make the investment.
No, Smartsheet was already used within my company for other projects, so we just created this first dashboard just to display what you can do with it, and it was so visual, so clear that they got I got their buy-in super quick, so it was really easy for that.
That's great. Also, I just launched a feedback loop because I would like to know from you guys, like what did you like about the session, what you don't like, because we are on continuous improvement roadmap. Also, we would like to understand like what you would like to see in the future. If there are some open questions, some new tools which you would like to get a deeper insight. So please don't hesitate to give us a feedback here. And saying this, I want to give a special thanks to Florian to help us to make this session. Yeah, really thank you. To prepare the presentation and to share your story. And I mean, this is the reason why we're doing together this activity, because we discovered that Smartsheet, we need to talk about every user. They need to get creative ideas, and we want to share the stories to help everyone to get their management on board, to get their teams on board. And Florian, I think you have a fantastic story. I really see, and this was the point what I wanted to make before, like actually you help to the company to accelerate by using Smartsheet and spread it all over the world. So you really are one of the key influencers, it seems like, in Thermo Fisher, so for Smartsheet. So a very good success story. I really enjoyed the session. So very great. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you.
Well,
Good. And then see everyone next time, hopefully. Thank you very much for joining. Looking forward to see you in the future, and stay healthy. Thank you very much.
Thanks all for contributing and listening. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.